What's up, my dudes? In this video I'm going to be teaching you how to make Crown of Success oil. Now this is an oil that you can use to increase any sort of success you have in any of your spell workings, whether you want to apply it on you or apply it to a spell candle, or if you just want to dress this on a certain item to increase its potency. This is a good oil to use for this. Now since this is an oil, it is something that will come in contact with your skin. So if you have allergies or something, or you're sensitive to, or you have sensitive skin, maybe don't put this on your skin, but you can dress this with other things. So as you can see, the first thing we're going to start with is extra virgin olive oil. Now it doesn't have to be extra virgin, but the olive oil will help the spell to not only have longevity, prosperity, success, abundance, and just increase your own favor, but it's also going to work with some of the other grades to not only ground out the effects, but also to keep it a bit more stable. If you were to use something else like a lighter oil, or maybe a different plant version of the oil, this is something that can really vary the effectiveness and vary the use of what the oil is going to be for. So extra virgin olive oil is what we're using. We're also going to be using bay leaves. Bay leaves are very good for focusing your intentions. You can simply write it on the bay leaf and write a sigil or a rune on the back of it. Then you can have it blessed that way, or you can crumble it up and char it and you can use it that way. You can also fold something into this, so you can wrap a intention with this, and that'll help to shield it and also provide a little bit of extra effect like that. Bay leaves are very useful and very versatile things you can use for this. Next thing is going to be cinnamon bark. Now this is specifically the bark because this will be a lot stronger of an energy than using the powder. It will also help to provide a bit more durability into your cinnamon, and cinnamon is also a good protective herb, so if you want to add protection, this is a good fiery herb for protection. It will also help to speed things along. If you want your Crown of Success oil to be a bit faster, you can add the powder version and also add a bit of the bark with maybe some fine shavings, just to have a bit more effect into there. Next thing is going to be orange peel. Orange peel is good for joy, attraction, and communication. This is good if you're dealing with anything that relates to other people. So if you want to attract joy and attract good communication with people that are around you, orange peel is a good thing to use for that. Next thing is gold glitter. You can use pyrite glitter, or if you have gold leaf flakes, or just anything that's golden and anything that has that sort of reflective properties to it will help to magnify your abundance and also help with providing a bit more golden opportunity into whatever you're working with. And the next thing is Hydron root. This is something that I am not completely familiar with, but this is something that I'll be testing it out with. I have used this a few times in some spell bags and in a mojo bag that I'm wearing, but this is very good for any sort of power or any sort of road opening. This is good for like breaking through road boundaries, so if you're creating a road opening oil, this is also going to be good for that, but that's what we're going to be using for this. And I have two different bottles here. Don't mind the copyright thing on the front of this, but any sort of bottle that you know can hold liquid. This one specifically has a top that is made for holding liquid, and this one has a wax cork. You don't want the open corks because they will just leak through. You want the ones with the wax bottom so the oils don't go through when it's upside down, or just when the temperature causes the moisture to increase in here. So these are two different things. You could also have a metal top version, but that might slip through the little layers of the oil, especially after you're using it. So I'll suggest either a cork or maybe a metal lid that is a bit more secure and that is preferably made for liquids. You can have just a solid holding cap, but again, that would leak through the threads and then that would just make a mess. So any of these options, or you could just use plastic if you have it. Also be sure to hydrate. This is just something that I made for this spell. This is a good success and abundance drawing tea. This is good for anyone that wants to attract any sort of abundance or prosperity to them. This is a good tea to drink. It also tastes pretty delicious because I made it, but if you would like to know a tutorial on how to make different spell teas, I can create a video. But yeah, just a spell tea to not only get you centered, but also to get your intentions focused on the project to come. So the first thing to do is to cleanse the bottle. I'm actually going to keep this symbol on here just because it sort of fits the vibe. I don't know if this symbol means anything spiritually, but I'm just going to leave it on there. It's my bottle. If you don't like it, then don't leave it on your bottle. Also, I'm going to be removing this, and I'm going to try and scrape more of this sticker off the back. I might just leave it until later, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Also, I could just use my nails and try and dig under this, but if you're going to be doing this, maybe use a knife. Look how easy that is. Look, you don't need to just completely tear it off with your bare fingers, just like I did, and leave a whole bunch of residue, and now you have to clean even more when you should have just used a knife in the first place. Do what I'm doing. You know, it's smart. To create more work for yourself, but you know, it's part of the process.
One of y'all better give me a feather. I'm not playing with y'all.
So now that this is mostly cleaned off, like I said, I'm going to be leaving that. What you can do before you continue to the next step is to write any sort of symbols that you would like onto the bottle. I'm going to wait until I actually create the oil to be doing that, but the next step is to empty out the bottle. As you can see, there's still a small bit of liquid in there. So I'm going to open the bottle out, wash it through with some cleansed water, and then I'm going to put some cleansing black salt in it. This is the cleansing black salt that I made. There's a video about this if you'd like to know how to make it. But I'm just going to be putting some of this into the bottom and then having this sit out during the sun. Not the full day because I still want to finish this today, but this is the day that I assigned to do it, so it's going to be sitting out for a few, maybe an hour or so, just to open up fully, and then it's going to be charged, maybe dry also. I can redo the cleansing salt, and then I can show you what to do from there. If you don't want to do all that, what you can do is you could just rinse this out, maybe place some salt around it to draw out any negative or lingering effects from this, and then you can use it that way. But this is the way that I'm going to be doing it, just because I have like 2 other projects to do today, and this is the most complex one, but I still have to do other things today. So the next thing we're going to do while the container is cleansing is we're going to prepare the ingredients. Now these are the main ingredients that you need to grind up, and first that is the whole cinnamon. You can use up to 3 pieces. I'm just going to use 2 because I don't need it to be too much. You could also write a specific intention onto the cinnamon if you would like to. If you would like to write any sort of intentions, you can use these 4 colors. You can have the black for command, you could have the yellow for any sort of joy, you could have the gold for any sort of rewards, and you can have the green for any sort of growth. You can use these interchangeably. You could either write them onto the cinnamon stick itself, or you can write it on the bay leaf. Each way would affect the specific ingredient, so maybe if you want to be more commanding, or you maybe want to focus on the rewards coming quickly, you would do that for the cinnamon, and maybe on the bay leaf you can focus on the growth and the joy aspects. But you can do it however you see fit, and that's just a different way that you can do it. So for these bay leaves, on the front side it's written in yellow so you can't really see it, but for these bay leaves you just want to write the specific intentions that you are wanting to apply into your Crown of Success oil. Like I said, you can tailor those to the specific colors, but you can also just focus your intentions on the specific outcome that you're looking for if this is more focused. But if you were just doing general things, just do any sort of general uplifting or positivity into your working. Also, a quick tip: if you are going to be doing anything with the green or the gold color, the green works a lot better if it is something light. The green could also be darker for more stability. That's something you can look out for if you're choosing a specific color. And also the gold. If you want a more flashy gold, that's more of a flashy, standing out type of energy, or you could have more of a matte neutral tone, which is the same effects of the gold, but it's not as prominent and it's a bit more laid back, if you will. Also, because I am using the orange peel that's already been processed, if you want to be a bit more natural and maybe have a bit more time, what I've done before is I've just written my intentions onto a fresh orange. I would peel it, give the actual fruits out into nature as an offering for just receiving the peels. Then the peels I'll let dry out into either the sun if I wanted the solar energy, or the moon if I wanted more of the grounding energy, and then you could have that placed into this. Once it dries up for like a few days, depending on the humidity, you can just put it in a grinder and then you can grind it down like this. I prefer, if I'm going to do that, I just rip this into chunks. That way it's in big pieces that still have the energies, but it's about a lot more usable and a lot more easily obtainable than trying to grind it down like this, because if it's not perfectly dry, then it will get like this and it'll just clump up at the bottom. Eventually that could mold if you don't use it that often. So if you're not completely sure on how to make it the dried form, or maybe you want a bit more sustainability, don't go for this. This is more if you have the time and the energy to process this. This is what that's for. If you don't want to do that, just take the orange, just do it that way. Or if you want to, you can just buy the orange peel, but this was probably like $7 maybe when I bought it, so yeah, not the most cost effective, but you can do it. And while I could add the gold glitter into this, I don't really want to make a mess of this. This will just go directly into the bottle. And also, if you are going to be doing this, make sure your glitter doesn't get everywhere, because this can get into your eyes and cause irritation. So make sure if you're grinding this, or maybe if you're adding this to anything, make sure it has something solid to stick to and it's not just flying everywhere. And the final ingredient that I didn't really mention is the Valerian Root. I'm going to be adding this in full into the bottle. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be blessing over it, and then I'm going to be adding it into there. I may break off some pieces just to help fitted, but I'll be leaving this mostly whole. I could grind this in the grinder or try and muscle it out and put it in this, but I feel like the truest form is the whole form of this, and you don't really need to grind this down further. It's also pretty dense, so might be struggling a bit for that, especially if you don't have an electric grinder. This is what it's looking like right now. I added a bit of sugar just to add a bit of sweetness into the working. Make sure you don't add too much, because then it will cause it to be a lot clumpier, and then that won't work as well. You just want a little bit of sugar to just help overall sweeten all the different abilities that you have put into your grinding. Also, I'm doing this in sort of a rhythm, not as much now because I'm talking and I can't keep rhythm, but it's pressing down to ground out your abilities, and then turning clockwise to circulate that growth and that energy into the ingredients. So grounding it out, grounding the energies. You could do it from multiple directions. You can say something from each direction, like you're protected from the north, from your abundance and your prosperity. You're grounded from the south in all of your abundance. You are immune to shifts from the east and something, yada, 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 you understand. But just adding some sort of directional magic into whatever you're working with. This will not only help with the grinding, but it'll also help with your intentions into this. And this is one of the first things that I've ground into this mortar and pestle. I did do the salts and the like sort of pre-preparation for this, but this is the first thing I'm doing with this. You could also do to find the measurements of the ingredients, whether you're using large ingredients or you're using a lot of small ingredients, is to fill up your container. This is the smallest container I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to create another version in the larger container, but this is going to be the smallest one. So you want to fill this with any sort of salt, or maybe if you have an excess amount of it, you can have loose gravel, just something loose and something that can fill up most of the shape without it being like a liquid or something like that. And then you can place it into the bowl. You can know the exact height for your materials. So say if you filled this up, this isn't real, but say if you filled up your container and it ended up being all the way up here, you know if you only have ingredients down to here, you don't have enough. You also want to add room for a petition if you're going to be using that, but a good rule of thumb is to pretty much put the amount that you would have measured into the container, and then as you're working, as you can see, stuff is flying out. That'll sort of lessen the amount, and also that'll be something you can use to charge the container. But that's just something to keep in mind if you want to measure out your ingredients and then just have a bit more methodology into your practice. What's up, my dudes? So this is a weird cut at the end of the video. So I don't actually know what happened. I record my videos in batches, and then like I have a set day that I usually edit everything together. And just looking back at the edit, apparently I didn't film it or I didn't move it over properly, but there's no footage of me finishing this oil. And I recorded this on the full moon. It's almost the next full moon at the time that I'm recording this, but I have been using it. This is what it looks like. It's very settled at the bottom, but this is somewhat what it looks like. As you can see, there's still the collection of sticker residue. I just leave it, it's fine. Make sure whenever you're about to use it, you shake it up first to activate the ingredients. Make sure everything is flowing properly, and then you want to anoint yourself. Usually what I'll do, I'll take the cap off, do this, both hands, rub it together, or if I'm dressing a candle, I'll usually measure out a certain amount just so I can be precise, and then I'll put that on the candle or the object or whatever. But yeah, that's the oil, the Crown of Success oil. So yeah, that's how you make it. Hopefully if you're making it yourself, you also, if you're going to be making this for yourself, make sure that when you do put all your ingredients in, you let it sit either in purely sunlight or purely moonlight. When I was doing this, I did it during the moon phase, so I was doing it when it was just about to be the peak of the full moon, and then the next night after, just to get the lasting effects from that. And then you want to leave it in a dark place just so the materials can go into the oils a bit better. It's still going to separate if it's sitting for any length of time, but it will just help it to get more into the oils and help darken that oil and really infuse the ingredients into it. But yeah, that's just a few different things that you can do if you want to create this Crown of Success oil. Again, sorry I didn't show the last part. I was really bummed, and I just noticed it too. I don't even know what happened or what I was doing. Maybe I put it in a different folder, or maybe I deleted it, or maybe it was just a photo, or I don't know what happened. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Have a good day, night life. Enjoy yourself and be happy.